Episode 6, The Rise of Zulu. Victory, especially a victory against a king as powerful as Shaka, is a fragile, fleeting crown. After defeating Shaka's first punitive regiment, the Isimpolo at Entubeni, Mzilikazi Kamachabana stood for a brief moment in rare company. A former commander who had dared to pierce the armor of the Zulu war machine, and succeeded. He had challenged a king and won the first round. But Shaka Kasenzanga Kona was not a king to suffer defiance or defeat twice. The Zulu response to the humiliation at Entubeni came swiftly and overwhelmingly. A second, much larger and more formidable regiment, the Umbalabele, was immediately dispatched. It was led by Mdlaka Kanchindi, a seasoned and utterly loyal commander, with clear, brutal orders to accomplish what the first force had failed to do: crush Mzilikazi and his rebels completely. What followed at Mzilikazi's new position at Entubeni, deep within the Ngome Hills, was less a battle and more a reckoning. Mzilikazi's loyal forces fought bravely, defending their chief and their homes. But they were terribly outnumbered, out-equipped by the full might of the Zulu standing army, and ultimately outmaneuvered. He had earned the name Zulu, he who pierced the Zulu in the first clash. But now the Zulu had pierced back, and the wound was fatal. Mzilikazi's army was overrun. But sheer numbers were not the only force that brought Mzilikazi down. According to strong oral traditions and poignant clan praise poems, there was another, more painful element at play: betrayal. Someone close to Mzilikazi, someone who knew his movements, his strategies, and his hiding places, had revealed them to the enemy. That someone, it is said, was his own brother, Zeni, also known as Nzeni. Like many siblings of royal blood in societies where succession and status were fiercely contested, especially those born of different mothers, a simmering mistrust had long existed between Mzilikazi and Zeni. In the cutthroat political world of 19th century Nguni leadership, brothers were often rivals, and, tragically, rivalry could easily turn into bloodshed, or, in this case, ruinous betrayal. It was Zeni who had reportedly first informed Shaka about the cattle Mzilikazi had withheld after the Ranisi campaign, sparking the initial conflict. And now, in Mzilikazi's hour of need, it was Zeni again who provided the critical intelligence to the attacking Zulu regiment, revealing the location of Mzilikazi's secure mountain refuge, Janet Shani, deep in what is now the Abakulusi region. Armed with this knowledge, Shaka's overwhelming forces were able to corner Mzilikazi and break the remaining resistance of his loyal warriors. The battle was lost, and the cost was immeasurable. Amidst the aftermath, Mzilikazi spoke with a Kumalo elder, saying, They knew exactly where to strike, exactly when. The elder, his voice heavy and hesitant, replied, My prince, not all wounds come from spears on the battlefield. Mzilikazi looked away, his voice bitter. Then this one came from my own blood. Defeated in battle, his loyal forces decimated, Mzilikazi was surrounded by the very empire he had once served, now seeking his destruction. For a man of Mzilikazi's pride and standing, who had defied the most powerful king in the land, only one viable option remained. He could not surrender. He could not remain under Shaka's authority. That single, brutal option was exile. But this was no mere retreat into obscurity or hiding. For Mzilikazi, it was a deliberate choice, a decision to leave Zululand not as a fugitive fleeing justice, but as a leader choosing a new destiny for himself and his followers. At this point, Mzilikazi was not yet formally a king, but he was still undeniably a chieftain of the Kumalo people. He had several wives, a core group of utterly loyal followers. In a final council, the spiritual advisor, Gwabalanda Mate, spoke with a solemn voice. "We cannot bury our dead here, Mzilikazi. Their bones will speak against us to the one who defeated them." Mzilikazi replied, his voice firm and looking towards the future. "Then let their memory fuel our journey. We go, not to run from our past, but to rise towards a future we will build ourselves." The decision was made. Mzilikazi and his relatively small group of loyal followers, the remnants of his military force, his family, and the Kumalo who chose him, gathered their remaining cattle, their weapons, and their possessions. The path ahead was treacherous. They would cross the towering, formidable Drakensberg Mountains, leaving the land of their ancestors, the land that had given him life and inflicted such pain, behind forever. Curiously, the Zulu forces did not pursue them immediately, not with the full might Shaka could command. Perhaps Shaka believed the damage was done, that Mzilikazi was no longer a threat, simply another defeated chieftain. Perhaps he chose, for reasons lost to history, not to chase a man he had once trusted implicitly into the unknown territories beyond his control. Or perhaps Shaka recognized that some destinies, some visions of power, must break apart from the source to fully unfold elsewhere. This pivotal moment marked the true independent beginning of Mzilikazi's legacy. He had lost his position, his army, and his standing in Zululand. But what he carried with him was something far greater and more enduring. A vision of a new kingdom, a state forged not through inheritance or political maneuvering, but through fire, resilience, and the gathering of those who, like him, sought a new beginning, a place not inherited from ancestors, but built by survivors. And left behind, etched into the history of Zululand, was the powerful, complex name he had earned, Labezulu, the one who pierced the Zulu, a name that was born of defiance, but which would soon become legend as he journeyed into the unknown. Mzilikazi's journey was far from over. The path beyond the mountains was vast, challenging, and filled with both danger and opportunity. He would encounter new peoples, face new enemies, and gather new followers. He would take the lessons learned in Zululand, the military discipline, the organizational skill, the understanding of power, and adapt them. He was leaving behind the shadows of Zwide and Shaka, stepping into the light of his own making. And as he ventured into the interior, the foundation was being laid for the forging of one of Southern Africa's most remarkable kingdoms.